It's a person, I said quietly to her. It was truly bizarre, the fact that anyone would be in the freezing cold water at this hour. Tiffany wanted to move because she was uncomfortable, and it seemed like whoever it was just watching us somehow. When I was in my senior year of high school, 17 years old, all that was on my and my friends' minds were girls. There was one girl in particular in my physics class that I was really into. Her name was Tiffany. Some guys called her Crazy Tiff because she was super hot, but also apparently really crazy, according to her exes. That's irrelevant to this story, though. Basically, my best friend CJ managed to get one of Tiffany's best friends, Gianna, to agree to come hang out at some beach with him. And that night, since it was a Friday and the weather was warm, the best part, Tiffany agreed to come with. This was at my big chance with Crazy. Tiff CJ pulled up to my house at 10 o'clock that night. I hopped in shotgun. We went to pick up Tiffany and Gianna. On our way there, we agreed. Our first priority was getting me alone with Tiffany and CJ getting alone with Gianna. I was extremely nervous, but when Tiffany and Gianna got in the car, things were actually going pretty smoothly. CJ and I managed to make them laugh a bunch of times. By the time we got to the beach, I was confident Tiffany and I would vibe really well alone and remember the tiny details of what happened after we stepped out of the car and onto the dunes. But I do remember the beach being completely void of any other people, and CJ somehow managed to go off alone with Gianna into the darkness. After a few minutes, just like we planned, Tiffany and I took a walk down to the water and wet our feet and whatnot. Then we just laid in the sand and talked for a while. Things were going smoothly until Tiffany pointed out to the ocean. "What is that?" she said. I looked to where she was pointing but didn't see anything. I was laughing at her apparent delusion and got up to go closer to the water in hopes of maybe seeing what she saw. My feet touched the cold water. That's when I was close enough to see it. There was a long, vertically standing object in the water. I entered a little closer, so it moved. I jumped out of the water and ran back to Tiffany. "It's a person," I said quietly to her. It was truly bizarre, the fact that anyone would be in the freezing cold water at this hour. Tiffany wanted to move because she was uncomfortable, and it seemed like whoever it was just watching us somehow. It just felt like that. So we took a walk further down the beach until we thought we had privacy. We sat back down on the beach with nothing but the sound of the ocean waves and our voices. But Tiffany was once again the one to point out something. "You hear that?" she asked me. I did kind of hear it. It was like a smaller kind of splashing sound, but it stopped. Just as soon as it started, we looked out to the ocean, and I heard Tiffany gasp. The guy was out there again. I was going to go out there and tell him to back off, but Tiffany told me, "Let's just go mokey." I was hoping she would. I just wanted to look tough in front of her. He got back to the car. CJ and Gianna weren't back yet. Suddenly my phone started blowing up with texts, all from CJ. Apparently he'd been texting me in some kind of panic the whole time. We were on the beach, and I guess I didn't have reception out by the water. He texted me first, saying, "Dude, some weird guy is in the water watching us," and then, "Yo, some weird deformed-looking guy is stalking us. Get to the car." Now, 5 minutes later, he sent a couple other texts, basically panicking over being followed by something in the dark keywords. Something not. Someone, something. His second-to-last text said he was coming to look for us, and to answer when I got this. His last text was, "We're on our way back to the car. Now get there." He also tried calling me 3 times. Apparently, I called him back at once, and he picked up right away, out of breath, not even letting me speak. All he asked was if we were at the car, and I said, yes. He said, "Good, stay right there," and hung up the phone. Less than 30 seconds later, Gianna and CJ came out of the surrounding darkness next to the Jeep. He explained the best he could while trying to catch his breath that some deformed-looking creature walking on 2 legs was following them. I didn't know whether to laugh at what he said or not. I told him about how he saw someone in the white, or 2. He asked me to describe what it looked like. I kept getting confused by his way of describing the person as if they were a creature. I told him it looked like a really tall, lanky person standing in the water. He said he got a chance to get a closer look at it, and it was some kind of deformed humanoid thing. Tiffany and I looked at each other, and now he kind of nervously left what he was saying was just too bizarre. But I think parts of both of us took him seriously. Gianna vouched for what he was saying. That scream made us all jump into the car. It was some kind of half-human, half-demonic kind of screaming. I can't describe it. You just have to hear it. Needless to say, we were all frantic in the car asking CJ questions mainly, but closer to the end of the ride, we all grew silent. I guess we were all just lost in our thoughts about what just happened to give you an idea of how quickly all this happens. We were on the dunes for about half an hour after I heard that sound, that scream. I did start to believe CJ partially, but I still feel like what I saw in the ocean was a person. But CJ's way of describing who or what was following him as some kind of deformed humanoid thing on the beach is what still freaks me out the most. Growing up in Florida, my sisters and I spent countless evenings at the beach. Sunset was our favorite time. Fewer people, golden skies, and the kind of peace you only get when the world slows down. We'd play volleyball, wade into the water, or just lie in the sand, listening to the waves. But one night, that peace shattered. My youngest sister, Xenia, was 13 at the time, full of energy, always eager to run into the ocean. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she begged to go in the water. I agreed, but as the oldest, I laid down the rules. 10 minutes, then back to shore. She sprinted into the waves without a second thought. At first, I kept my eyes on her. But then, my other sister, 16, nudged me. "Volleyball?" she asked, pointing to a sagging net and a half-deflated ball nearby. I hesitated, glanced back at Xenia, still there, still safe, then nodded. Big mistake. We played for maybe 5 minutes. When I looked up again, Xenia was gone. My stomach dropped. The water was dark, the shoreline empty. I scanned the waves, my pulse roaring in my ears. Nothing. No splash, no laugh, no sign of her. Then I saw the boat, a sleek, expensive-looking yacht, drifting closer than any boat should be at that hour. And something in my gut told me that's where she was. I didn't think. I just ran, plowed into the water, swam like my life depended on it. When I reached the boat, I hauled myself onto the deck, my hands slipping on the polished wood. That's when I heard it. Laughter, not the innocent kind. Low, murmuring, wrong. It came from below deck, where a hatch door stood slightly open, spilling yellow light into the growing dark. "Hello?" I shouted. Silence. Then, my sister's voice. "Your name?" I nearly tripped, rushing down the stairs. The scene hit me like a punch to the throat. Xenia was sitting on a bed, clutching a Coke, her eyes wide. and at the far end of the cabin, two men. One grinning like this was all some big joke, the other stiff, like he'd been caught. "You've got a real nice sister," the smiler said. The other one cut in fast. "We just saw her out there alone, thought we'd give her a ride, a snack, being friendly." Every hair on my body stood up. I didn't say a word, just grabbed Ksenia's arm and yanked her toward the stairs. "Need a lift back to shore?" one called after us. I didn't answer. We hit the water, swimming harder than I'd ever swam before. When we finally stumbled onto the sand, gasping, the boat was already a shadow in the distance, swallowed by the night. Back home, my dad lost it, not at them, at me. "You didn't get the boat's name, their faces, anything?" He was right, I should have. But in that moment, all I cared about was getting my sister out of there. After that, Ksenia was banned from the beach after sunset. And honestly, good. Because I still think about that boat. And I still wonder what would have happened if I'd looked away for just 1 minute longer.
It was early February, and Connecticut was freezing. Needing an escape, my girlfriend and I decided to drive down to our beach house in Florida. After a day and a half on the road, we arrived just as the sun was setting. Since we visited often during winter, the electricity and water were already on, one less thing to worry about. Exhausted from the trip, we grabbed lounge chairs, walked straight to the beach, and dozed off without even checking the rest of the house. As darkness fell, my girlfriend nudged me. "Did you leave that light on?" she whispered. I turned toward the house. An upstairs light was on, and behind the partially open curtains, a shadowy figure stood motionless. My stomach dropped. Someone was inside. I told her to stay put and sprinted to the house, slipping in quietly through the back door. Barefoot, I crept upstairs, hearing a door shut just as I reached the landing. The light in the room was now off, but the door was open. I grabbed a flashlight and scanned the room. Nothing. Then I remembered the closet. That must have been the sound. Holding my breath, I pressed my ear against the closet door. Silence. I yanked it open, empty. Just as I exhaled in relief, a floorboard creaked behind me. I spun around, expecting an intruder, but it was just my girlfriend. I scolded her for not waiting outside. But now that she was here, we searched the entire house. Every room, every closet. No one. We locked all the doors, checked for signs of a break-in, but found nothing. No forced entry, nothing stolen. Exhausted, we finally went to bed. Then, click, a sound under the bed. We froze. I slowly lowered myself to the floor and peered underneath. A man was staring back at me. Before I could react, he scrambled out and bolted for the front door. Barefoot, I couldn't chase him far. We searched the house again. Still, nothing was missing. We never called the police. We just tried to forget it and enjoy the rest of our trip. But sometimes, I still wonder, how long had he been there? And why?